There is so much to talk about. From the Expansive Worlds stream today, in 1 hour, we got to see so much and learned so much new information, from our first look at the new map, to animal population resets, to a change for the 223 that I think a lot of people are going to like. We're going to try to hit on all the stuff we learned today, and of course we have to start with the map. We finally got to see a little bit of Emerald Coast gameplay. Jaxy walked around on the map for a little while. We didn't really get to see any species, a slight peek at a kangaroo that was pretty cool, but he was intentionally not spotting stuff and not going too far on the map, as that's going to be saved for a later stream. But everything we did get to see, the outpost, the brief look at some species there, the foliage itself, it just looks like Australia, and I can't wait to walk around and explore that map a little bit more. We know, based on the posts that Expansive Worlds have made, there's going to be multiple biomes, which potentially means lots of very different looking terrain than what we saw in the stream today, and I'm looking forward to finding out what else is going to be there. It was also made a little bit more clear. We've heard over and over and over again, Emerald Coast is going to be a map, not a reserve. Jaxy explained that means it's going to be private land, and of course that will be explained more in the missions, but it was nice to kind of understand what was meant by that being said so much. He did also confirm the actual map size is going to be approximately the same as the other maps. As per usual, I don't think any one map that's ever come out is way bigger or smaller than the rest, so good to know that is going to continue. I'll also note, as we got to see the actual map itself, that top right area, it looks interesting to me. It's almost like an island. I wonder if that's like Australian jungle, Australian rainforest type of thing. Just kind of something I noticed as I was trying to zoom in with that, take a screenshot of my phone as the stream was going on. Curious to see what that is going to be like, because it is interesting it's kind of isolated up there. Now, there is a list of a ton of patch notes. Jaxy said it's like 12 pages long or something like that. I don't know if it's an exaggeration or not. We didn't get it all listed today. However, there are a bunch of points that were touched on, and they're pretty major. So first, animal population resets. There are a bunch of them for different reasons. So 3 species are getting pop resets because of changes to their models. So reworks, touch-ups, things like we've seen with the whitetail in the past, black bear, those sorts of things where maybe furs are improved and stuff. We knew the fallow deer. That was shown in last week's stream. Red deer are also getting a change. Jaxy said they're going to look much better. I can't wait to see what they do with them. I've always felt they're a little bit off, so hopefully they can finally solve that. And of course, we knew feral goats from the screenshot provided by Expansive Worlds on Steam. They're getting touch-ups as well, and I can't wait to see the full thing. There are so many fur types for feral goats. The one we see, I think, is blonde in that image. I can't wait to see all the other fur types. The mixed one as well. That's got to look cool. Now, there are 3 more species getting pop resets because of true racks. We haven't gotten a new true rack species in a very long time. I think kudu were the last one with Mississippi, if I'm not crazy. Now we have springbuck, European bison, and plains bison, all getting true racks, all getting population resets. Springbuck are the ones by far I'm most excited about. I've wanted to see springbuck true racks for the longest time since they were initially implemented. I imagine European bison and plains bison are going to be probably the same horns, kind of like reindeer and caribou had the same antlers, just on different body models. That's going to be my guess, and I hope maybe they're going to get a little bit more impressive, particularly the Euro bison. Now, I wasn't planning on talking about this just yet, but because we've got some whitetail in front of us, the 223 is getting a buff, and the reason for that is the new weapon coming with the Emerald Coats is going to be a 22-250. There's been discussion as to whether or not that rifle would be more of a varmint rifle or something for, class 3, maybe small class 4 animals. And based on the fact that they want to buff the 223 to make the 22-250 make more sense, I'm thinking that maybe it's going to be more in that class 3-4 range, and maybe still allowable on class 2, even down to possibly class 1. So we got to see Jaxy shoot a whitetail doe with the 223 on the stream. What I want to do then is use the 223 now, shoot a whitetail doe at about the same range and about the same angle, and try to compare what we got to see. Now, unfortunately, there was no quick kill shown in the stream, so I can't compare exactly, but we do know that it was a medium bleed rate. I could be crazy, but I think shooting a whitetail at that angle with the 223 is going to produce a low bleed rate, which, if that's the case, is indicative of a pretty major buff, not just a tiny little bit. So let's go and take a look at what happened here. I'm actually kind of excited to do like a demonstration type thing in a video like this because it's usually just talking. And I can tell you right now, that is not a medium bleed rate. That indeed is a very low bleed rate. Did we hit the lungs? Now I gotta look. I think we did. Absolutely we did. That's a major difference. We know in the stream too, it was a single lung shot, so it's not medium bleed rate because of a double lung. He only hit one lung. The angle was actually worse than what we took. He had a bit of a quartering angle, even though it was standing kind of broadside. That's a huge improvement, and for forever. People in the community have been wanting the 223 to be a more capable deer weapon. It's very often used on whitetail deer, mule deer in real life, and in game it's more of a varmint rifle. Now, it's a pretty viable deer rifle based on that medium bleed rate and the fact that it's way more powerful clearly than it is now. So that's super exciting stuff. It was a single lung shot just like what happened in the stream. The penetration to me looks to be about the same. Again, the angle was different, so that will make it look like it maybe didn't penetrate as much on stream, but it looked like maybe a perfect angle. You could get like a broadside heart shot. I don't know if broadside double lung would be a thing even with the buff 223, but very impressive to go from a very low bleed rate to a medium bleed rate. And is it going to be meta-defining? Is the 223 going to be the new whitetail grind weapon? I doubt it. It does have a 6-round capacity, so that's something to consider. It's the highest capacity class 4 rifle in the game. However, I still think things like the 308 and maybe even the M1 are going to be preferable, but very cool. If you're someone who hunts deer in real life with the 223, I think this is going to be a perfect way to get to hunt in-game with what you use in real life and actually be effective. So getting back on track, as we kind of skipped around there to check out the 223, alligators. We know that crocs are going to be much more aggressive than alligators were. With that, alligators are getting basically the same AI as I understand it. So we can expect alligators to be aggressive, and there's going to be more behavioral changes. So both gators and crocs should be spending more time on the banks and less time swimming around forever in lakes and rivers and stuff like that. I think that's going to be really well received. If there is one major complaint with the gators, it's that they're just not very fun to hunt. It's a challenge, no doubt, but it's not as enjoyable as hunting other species. I think this is going to give them a boost. We have one final pop reset to talk about, and that is bobcats. It was not confirmed if it's going to be Mexican bobcats and the bobcats on the New England mountains. I'm assuming it will be because they're basically the same thing. Those are getting a reset because of changes with drink times and zone rework. So not a model rework, no great ones or anything crazy like that as the population reset reason, just to change some zones around. So bringing it back around with the final bit of information from the stream, which actually is a lot, the Late and Late Cosmetic Pack and the tent and ground blind customization. So we got to see, I believe, everything in the Late and Late Pack. As far as I can tell, it's going to be a lot of useful stuff. The premium wrap is probably my favorite, and all the premium wraps so far have been very good. This is the Hirschfeld one that we actually have on our 223 right now. It looks very different from the Leighton wrap, which is good. I think that's good to have more options and more variety. What I think is maybe the most interesting stuff, though, is the tent and ground blind customization. So we got to see a little bit of that in the stream, and I wanted to talk about how I believe it's going to work. So if we go into the store, because that's going to be the easiest place to take a look at this, let's go to tents. There are, in the Hunter Call of the Wild right now, 5 different colors of tents you can buy. You've got blue, camo, green, pink, and white. That probably means you can have 5 different customizations of tents at any given time. So if you customize your blue type tent, any blue tent that you place will have that new customization. When you customize the camo tent, same thing. Whatever camo tent you place anywhere on the map will have the customization that you've put on for the camo ones, and so on. I believe the same will go for the ground blinds. There's only 2 variations of ground blinds right now. We've got conifer and timber, so you'll be able to have, let's say you've got a bunch of ground blinds on Virunga Savannah, for instance. I think Virunga would be a good map because it's fairly open. You could, with the new customization options, you could go to customize. Obviously, we can't do it right now. Maybe put the Virunga camo on there. So you could do something like this, but actually on your ground blind. I think that would be cool, and you'd still be able to do it for one other map, maybe Medved or something that would look very different. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's actually going to encourage purchasing other tents, because I basically only buy camo tents. I just like the look of them the most. Now, when I'm setting up for a fallow deer grind over on Australia, maybe I'm more likely to do a particular tent color. my moose grind on Leighton. I'll choose something else. The Leighton premium wrap would be the most likely, and so on. I just think it's going to be cool. It's another customization option. Plus, with the Leighton pack, there's going to be even more options to do with our weapons, and of course, on the new ground blinds and tents. And actually, one final thing to touch on before we wrap this video up. I meant to talk about it earlier, but doing the 223 whitetail demonstration out of order kind of messed with it. But don't forget, the 223 AR exists. I think because the 223 has been an underwhelming caliber in Call of the Wild for all these years, it's kind of just the left out member of the Modern Rifles pack. But as Jaxy has said on streams before, the ballistics and stuff in Call of the Wild are pretty much all down to the ammo. The actual guns themselves don't have much to do with it. It's the same ammo that goes in both the 223 Docent and the 223 AR, so that means we should see the same kind of buff for the AR 223, and that might make the Modern Rifles pack that much more appealing, and actually just give it a lot more versatility when we take it to other maps. So I'm looking forward to that. Most times we hunt anywhere where a 223 would make sense, I bring the bolt action rifle. Maybe the AR starts to make a comeback in some other areas, but on that note now, we've talked about all the stuff coming to the game. I honestly can't wait for the True Racks. That's super exciting. That's going to give us even more to target. Outside of the new diamonds for the 8 new species on the Emerald Coast, we're going to want to hunt Plains Bison, Euro Bison, and Spring Bug to try to get some diamond True Rack variations of them. Obviously, the other pop resets are super exciting as well. I can't wait to see the reworks. Going to be really intriguing to hunt gators and crocs now with the aggressive behavior. I think that's going to be a welcome change from just constantly spooking gators and seeing them flee into the water. It looks like there's a lot in this update, and as I said, there's a really long list of patch notes. There is plenty that we haven't gotten to here just yet. So on that note, I think that's going to do it for this video, but let me know what you're most excited for from this list that we got to hear today, and I'll tell you what, there is a lot to pick from. But anyway, as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.